Hello, good morning. I'm so just slightly off center. Sure. Anyways, hello, good morning, and welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time here. So today is gonna be different than my normal videos. Today's gonna be a little different because we are actually just gonna sit here and yap. I might throw in some other footage. It depends on how much time I actually have to edit this. I have already filmed this once. Funnily enough, I think I was basically wearing the same outfit, but I was super boring in that other one. So we go again. I immediately don't know what to say. Love that. This is gonna be my experience in the Her Universe fashion show. These are all my own opinions, some that Lexi and I have talked through. She was backstage helping me. She went to the one rehearsal. She didn't go to the pre-rehearsal, but she went to the full rehearsal, so she did experience some of it. I do have like 3 pages that I wrote out of points that I want to hit, so yeah, I guess we'll just start at the beginning. So like last December, January perhaps, I came across a post by Quasar Creations, or Page, and it was about her dress from the Her Universe fashion show last year, which was just a gorgeous, color-changing, Dracula-inspired dress. And I, at that time, was researching how to make my Frankenstein Elizabeth wedding dress to potentially change colors, or, you know, so I was looking for different special effects stuff, and I happened upon her post, and I thought, man, that's crazy. That looks like so much fun. And it was her model walking the runway at the Her Universe fashion show last year. And so I thought, wait, that sounds really cool. I wonder how you apply and what goes into it. So I started looking into it, and at that point there was nothing posted for the new year. So I was like, I'll just keep looking back and see, like, if I see it, then I'll do it. And I kind of got wrapped up in WonderCon and making the blue Elizabeth. I was pretty busy, so whatever. I was prepping for WonderCon, I was doing other things, I was researching. There was a lot going on, okay? On March 6th was when the Her Universe socials officially posted what the theme was, who the sponsor was, what properties, and this year was DC Comics. I guess you don't need to say comics because it's Detective Comics. Anyways, this year's theme was DC. They had a link to their website that had a very detailed list of properties that you could pull from, and one of those was the Harley Quinn animated series. And I did her animated look in 2017, I want to say, and I've done basically every single other one of her live action outfits, but I have done some of her animated looks also. And I thought, wait, this sounds sick. Okay, so I didn't see it until March 17th, I think, maybe 16th. I immediately sent it to Lexi. That's how I have timestamps for all of this. And I was like, oh my gosh, after WonderCon, which started on the 22nd or 23rd, I think, after WonderCon, I'm gonna hard focus this and I'm gonna get designs down, and I would love to submit. Like, I don't necessarily need to do it, but like, I wanna just try designing something and it would be super fun and yada yada yada. And so at that point I started looking for inspo, and I also started looking for a video like this. And I found one that I watched that was by Crescent Shea. I'm sure you know who she is if you're here. And I felt like I got a good general overview, but it didn't answer all of my questions, so this is me answering all of my questions for any future designers that would like to potentially enter. So they announced the properties and everything on March 6th, and then on the submission portal opened on March 27th, but you didn't have to submit until April 26th. That was the submission deadline, and then you would find out, I want to say May 8th. Yeah, May 8th was when you found out if you got in or not. And everyone who submitted got an email on if they got in or not, so yeah. But at WonderCon, I competed in the Masquerade this last year, which was great because we made a friend 2 WonderCons ago. I don't want to say 2 years ago because it was in 2025, whatever. We made a friend in 2025 at the WonderCon Masquerade, and she was there again, and somehow we brought up the Her Universe fashion shows. She was like, oh, I do it every year, or you go to the portfolio review? And I said, no, I had no idea that was a thing. So at WonderCon, they do a panel that is basically just a portfolio review where I don't know if Ashley Eckstein herself goes, or if it's just people with Her Universe go and they're like, yes, no, yes, like, no, this one could accept it, yada, 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 and just give you tips on how to change your designs and have a higher chance of getting accepted. Sadly, I hadn't put anything down on paper at that point, and we also had a full schedule, so I mean, it was fine, whatever. The really helpful thing that my friend introduced me to was that there is a Facebook group called The Workshop, and you have to get accepted into it. But it is basically where people who want to enter, or people who entered in the past, or past winners, people who have done it for a few years, they all kind of hang out in this Facebook group, and they'll give each other tips and they'll congratulate each other, and it's a really great space, honestly. They're all so accepting and they're all so lovely, and it was such help. It was so helpful to be in there because they did end up delaying the deadline by about a week because there was a little confusion with the property list, and a lot of people had done designs for characters that were not approved, but they'd asked at the beginning and sent emails, and the emails didn't get responded to until pretty late. So they were like, okay, we're so sorry, we're gonna extend the deadline by another week. So I didn't know that, and I didn't know about all this other stuff that was going on and that was happening in the Facebook group. So it was very helpful to be in there. Like, if you are very serious about it and very much want to enter, I would find that Facebook group and enter and interact and just be kind to all the girlies, okay? And everyone in there, it's not just girlies. Anyways, but I did enter into the Facebook group, and I kind of started just like hanging out in there. Oh my goodness, what is it called? Where I wasn't really talking to anyone. I was just kind of getting the vibes. I was reading the room, you know? I was just there hanging out. Basically, what your submission consists of is you do 3 designs. You can do all one property, all one character. You can do different ones. I only did Harley Quinn because I didn't even think like, oh, I should do like a Batman and a Harley and a Joker or whatever. Like, my whole heart, eyes, just Harley Quinn. Yeah, that's me. That's just me. And so I did get a little worried when I saw other people were like, yeah, this was my Sandman that I didn't end up submitting. I submitted a Poison Ivy instead. And I was like, oh shit, people are doing other characters? Damn, okay, I didn't, but you know, we're still here. So you do 3 designs, and you want to have your sketch, and it doesn't have to be a super professional sketch. As long as they get an idea and you are happy with it, it's good. There are people in the group who will commission the sketch, where they'll send what they want it to look like as a rough sketch, and then they'll have someone tidy it up and make it nicer and everything for them, which is super cool. And you also want to include your inspo and some like other close-up details. There are a lot of people who their full spread has like a whole essay written on it, basically, of what's going on, and if there's transitions or items that come off or something, you know, you gotta have all of that included in this section. And you also want to name your design. I didn't know that I needed to name it until it was time to submit it, and I was like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever this describes it, sure, yeah. No one's gonna know this nonsense that I'm throwing on the page. That is how they announce everything, is through the name that you put on your design. So make sure you name them, and that is also how they email you. If you get in, they say, you, this design, and I went, which one is that one again? Please help. Oops, sorry. But yeah, you also have to make a video. I was told this earlier, and I didn't know about the video. It does not say it in the rules or like the entry submission thing until you're about 4 pages in. It says have a 5-minute or shorter video where you talk about each one of your designs and basically explain how you think you could do it in the time constraint. We had about 8 weeks to make our designs, which is not a lot of time in the grand scheme of things. And a lot of these designs are big and bulky, and there's a lot to them, and there's a lot to do. So you do kind of have to tell them like, yes, I will be able to get this done in the time constraint. I'm not gonna show up with a non-finished garment, basically. And that video is vital. If you do not do the video, you are basically not gonna get considered at all, is what I was told. So thank God for that, because you truly don't know about the video until you're deep in the submission. I ended up submitting about a week before the original deadline because I was also working on something else at the time, and I had an event or something the week that the submissions were due. So I was like, I'm just gonna get them done early. I don't wanna stress about them. I don't wanna be worried about changing anything with these that I'm happy with. Like, I just wanna get it out there into the universe and be done with it. But a lot of people do wait until the very last moment just in case something changes, and something did change where other properties did end up opening up. it didn't really affect me at all. I think in the future, if I do submit again, I think I will wait a little bit longer, probably not day of, but maybe just a few days before, and not quite as far ahead as I did this time. I was told that about 250 people entered and they only accepted 20. They do usually accept 25, I guess, is what the other people were saying. And so this year was a little weird because they only did 20. This year was a little weird all in general. They were definitely trying to change their format, so it makes sense that there was only 20 of us. It was a very long show anyways, so I can understand having like 5 more designers in there would have made it an even longer show, and it would have been absolutely crazy. Even though they delayed when the submissions were fully due, they did still send out the like confirmations on the same date of May 8th. And the submissions went out at about, I want to say 6 p.m. Pacific time. Everyone in the Facebook group was like, okay, last year they went out at 3, but there was one year they didn't go out until like 9 p.m. and sometimes they've gone out at like noon, so you never know. I was basically stalking the Facebook group until I saw someone else had gotten their acceptance, and they were like, it went right to my spam folder, like make sure that you check your spam, and it was in my spam folder, so yeah. But I did get accepted, yay! I'm so happy, and I did have to ask them which design they had chosen, and it was not the one that I was expecting. I went into this expecting it to be very much like really high fashion, super out there, avant-garde, and it is not. They definitely accept designs that are more marketable, because the winners do get to help them design a line that goes in, that is part of the prize. It has to be a bit more marketable, and it has to appeal to the general public, which is not something that was on my mind when I was designing for some reason. It's all marketing. Everything is advertisement, it's all marketing. I should know better. But I did 2 designs that were very gesture, very high fashion, and I would have really loved to do my jester design. It was very inspired by Chapel Roan's jester-esque outfit, but they did choose the design I was least expecting to make, so that was fun, because I didn't design the back at all. I had no idea what the back was going to look like, but I figured it out. It was fine. Everyone did post like, oh my gosh, I got in the Facebook group, and then off of those answers, we were invited to a different Facebook group that was the unofficial, official designers for the 2026 Her Universe fashion show, and then 2 past winners as well to help kind of like answer questions and moderate and that kind of stuff. But we all kind of were put in our own little group chat, basically, and it was so cute and so sweet, and I love all of them. They're so fantastic. We also started hearing more solidly from the Her Universe team, and getting updates on the run of show and the lead up and everything that they wanted from us, because it is a very professional show. They do ask for quite a bit of material leading up, but they also do provide us with answers as well. For the months of May and June, Her Universe did host a bi-monthly Zoom meeting where we could ask questions and they would give us updates on everything and tell us like, oh yeah, hey, we would like this, and this from you. We would like this, and this from you. We're going to give you this, but just provide us with names for it. That kind of thing. The meetings were really helpful, and the past designers who have been in the shows before also gave some advice in the meetings and were like, hey, we would love to know, like, say, how long is the runway going to be so that we can practice our walks, and what is it going to be made out of? Is it going to be wood or is it going to be carpet, so we can decide what to do at the bottom of our shoes, if we're going to need shoe grips or whatnot. So the meetings were super helpful. They brought in a lot of the team, and yeah, there was some slightly strict policies that they had this year. They had a like pet adoption agency there because they're promoting Supergirl with crypto and all that. So they did have puppies there, and they did ask us to not include any real leather or fur in our designs. Understandably. So that was one thing that they made us aware of and in the meetings and that kind of thing. We also were asked to film a lot of the making and behind the scenes content. They had a pretty solid list of stuff that they wanted, both photos, progress photos, close-up photos that wouldn't spoil anything, vertical videos, horizontal videos, and then there was also the like interview style diaries, making of diaries that they asked us to record. And then we just sent those over to them and they had a team that edited everything they wanted together. Everyone's videos were so cute. And I filmed right here. That's why we're right here talking about this right now, because this is the background that my video was, except for Baby Yoda. I did move him because it was not marble. So, but that's why we're here. And my table wasn't quite as messy. I cleaned up quite a bit for that video, but that is why we're in this spot and not over there by the bar cart. Now, leading up to the month of July, we started having meetings every week, and the event did take place the third week of July, so we basically only had 2 meetings in July still, and it was just the first 2 Tuesdays of the month, funnily enough. And they did tell us very early on that we would be doing a full dress rehearsal as well as the professional photos on Wednesday this year instead of at the show on Thursday. So we did have to have our looks completely finished and done on Wednesday. We couldn't be doing any late night last finishes, which was great for everyone. I think it took a lot of stress off of everyone, but they also had us there all day on Thursday. Like, they said all day Thursday, but I was not quite expecting the all day Thursday that it ended up being. We'll get there in just a moment. The second meeting of July, which was the second Tuesday, which was about 8 days in advance, we were given the full run of show for Thursday and also the rehearsal on Wednesday. For con, they do provide the designers with both free parking at the Manchester Grand Hyatt, which is great because valet is very expensive in downtown San Diego, and a 5-day badge for San Diego Comic-Con. So that is all 4 days and preview night, which is crazy. Who gets preview night? We didn't actually get to go to preview night because we were rehearsing, but I maybe could have snuck over there. I did get out before the floor closed, I think. But they do provide us with those as well as 2 VIP wristbands to get seats early for the runway show, which was great because then you can have your friends actually get in, because people line up at 4 in the morning or earlier apparently to get in, which is crazy. I did not know that. I did not know that. Yeah, our other friends didn't get in. We didn't get the 4 seats that we were hoping for. We only got those 2. There also wasn't a lot of seats. We'll get to that. But we were given this full schedule about a week in advance, so we would know. We didn't get any hotel rooms. They did feed us 1 meal Wednesday and 1 meal Thursday, which was great. And then we did have a full drink spread both days with coffee, different milk types, water, sparkling water, soda, that kind of stuff. We did have full access to that, which was great and grand. And then they also gave us gift bags with some little snacks. Cute. On to the actual show. Well, rehearsal day first. So our call time on Wednesday was 2 p.m. and that was in full-ish hair and makeup. We were given about an hour to do hair and makeup. And then we had our walking lessons with one of the other, like the original winner who makes all of Ashley's looks now. So we had a little walking lesson and they took us up into a different room that they had taped out the general shape of the runway. And the runway was very different this year. We were told a few times that they were trying new stuff. We were guinea pigs. This was a guinea pig year for sure. So the runway this year was an X and it had a little platform in the middle where it crossed that had 2 steps to get up to it. They said, here you go, here's a taped out layout, you'll be able to walk it later, but put on your shoes and we'll go have a little walking lesson and we'll teach you how to walk a runway and do a little practice and you can ask for tips, that kind of stuff. And so we did that for like half an hour and then they were like, okay, go finish getting ready and get dressed. Now you have another hour to be totally ready and then we'll have our opening meeting and then we will do like a dress rehearsal. Get dressed. I didn't have Lexi this day. One of the models tied me in my corset. Everyone was so sweet. Thank you for that so much. It was very appreciated. I was struggling to get into it myself. Originally, I'd come with my hair and makeup fully done. I did my lipstick there. I did some like touch-ups, lipstick. I did, I just kind of sat in front of my mirror and was like, do for like an hour because I didn't read the run of show properly to see all that baked in time. But it was fine because it was nice to just have to get dressed at the end. And then Ashley gave a cute little speech where she kind of introduced the show and exactly what they wanted and how they changed it up this year and they wanted it to feel gritty and grimy and like it had just come right from New York Fashion Week and like it was a real fashion show where we were down on the same level. We weren't up on a stage and they had done the X, and it was all fun things. And then the director of the show also came through and kind of told us what the vibes were and how there was a live drummer and there was going to be smog and atmosphere and the lighting and, you know, all the fun stuff. And then they broke us up into our groups and they went, okay, you're coming from this direction and then you're coming from this direction. And then, you know, we went in every other and we kind of crossed. Not at this point, we didn't cross here, but, you know, we basically crossed. We then walked the runway in each group, did their own kind of thing. And so I was group 2, which was really nice. But the first group went and then we went, but we basically walked the runway and got a feel for it and got a feel for how long we needed to be up there with no music, with just the director cueing us. And then we went, you know, around the back and through the back rooms where we were supposed to get back to the backstage. And then we walked it with our music. And I got to walk to Bad Reputation by Joan Jett, which was really fun. But the song before mine was Cherry Pie. And that song is just such a vibe. So it did like boost the vibes, but it was also kind of awkward listening for where it cut to my music, because there was like a cut where they like did the chorus like back to back twice or something in Cherry Pie, and so it sounded like it should have been my turn, but it wasn't. So I was like a little like, oh no, yes, no, backstage, you know, like we did have stage managers queuing us, but she was also dealing with Ashley, so it's fine. It was all totally fine. But we then walked with our music. And then they said, great, go back upstairs where we did our rehearsal and you will do professional photos and like a little bit of socials where we answered 2 questions and that was it. And then they said, great, now you can go eat dinner and get undressed and bye. So I left probably around 7, if I had to guess, maybe 7:30. And I went and I just had a great evening and I figured out what my poses were gonna be. I did like a little bit of at-home rehearsals and then packed everything back up and got ready to go to bed. And while I was laying in bed at about 10 p.m., I knew I was gonna wake up around 6 because I was staying not in my hotel. This is on me. This was scheduling on me. But I knew I was gonna wake up at 6 to do my hair and makeup, and then I was going to go attempt to check into my hotel room, but just concierge check all of my bags and then get dropped off at the hotel. Okay, I guess we were probably planning on leaving around like 9 to go and do all of that and then still be there like a little bit early in an attempt to kind of just start prepping basically at the hotel. My call time was 10 for Thursday. There was a lot going on. There was a lot I had to do that next morning. It was a whole thing. At 10 p.m. Wednesday night, we were sent an email. There was urgent update. Please show up at 9:15 instead of 10 tomorrow morning. So I did readjust all of my plans for the next morning, and that was a bit of a curveball, but we made it work and it was totally fine. I was still early. Everything worked out. We were given immediate access to the backstage area because we were able to leave our looks back there the night before. I did take my hair and makeup stuff because I knew I was going to be doing it at home. But there were a few designers that didn't get that email or were not able to get there until 10, the original call time. And basically they had just forgotten to rehearse the end of show with us on Wednesday night. And so we had to do it that morning. So we did spend about the first hour, if I had to guess, just walking the runway and figuring out at the end of the show after everyone had walked, they had us all come out and do a much tighter crisscross, which did take quite a few passes rehearsing to get timing and the spacing and everything right. And then we also rehearsed what was going to happen at the end of show when they announced who won. And basically if you won, go up and do this and and then this is what you'll do on Friday because we need you for press on Friday. Yes, there was a little bit of extra rehearsal on Thursday that was not anticipated originally. But Thursday was also just a very packed day. So we had our rehearsal until probably about 10:15, and then we had until 11 to get ready in our full looks for a full run of show dress rehearsal with music, with videos, with everything, which was great. That dress rehearsal was so helpful. That was way more helpful than the kind of rehearsals that we did on Wednesday. I understand why we did them on Wednesday, but I think we could have done a full run of show rehearsal on Wednesday, but they also filmed a lot of what Ashley was doing for clean looks so that they could have 2 takes of the basically her bits for the show. One is a clean copy. It happens in film all of the time. I work in reality, in competition, we do it all the time. Understandable. We could have done it Wednesday, I think. We also didn't end up starting the full dress rehearsal until, I want to say 45 minutes. It was between 30 and 45 minutes after we were originally supposed to. So we started off the day about 45 minutes behind schedule, which was so fun, especially being a live show and having such a set start time. I'm sure it was out of control. Like, everyone's doing their best. Everyone's making it work. I understand. So we do our full dress rehearsal. It is literally the run of show, but with no audience. And occasionally, like, the director would kind of be like, okay, yeah, let's do this instead, or like, yeah. No, you know, just little. And then this was also when we got to actually do the ending on, you know, with our looks and with the lights and everything, and we got to see everyone's videos. It was great. It was really like us watching the show, you know, and not being like super intimidated and like, because there's an audience. So we do the full dress rehearsal, and once that is done and they've been like, okay, yeah, and this is where if you win, ta-da, ta-da. Okay, now everyone, we're gonna go through the back hallways again to the back rooms. And we're gonna go back up to that room that we took pictures in yesterday, and that's where the prejudging is going to be. I have a lot of opinions about the prejudging. It was just weird, and I think everyone felt it, but they had us all stay in the room for prejudging. It was a big room. It was like a conference room at a hotel, a ballroom. Everyone started out in the room, and then once you were done with your judging, you left, rather than being outside of the room or in a separate room and coming in when it's your turn and then leaving. They had us all stay in there. They did turn the judges around so the judges were facing the other way, but it was still a little weird being in the room for prejudging, and I think everyone felt that way. And when they asked us if we would rather not be in the room and everyone said yes, they didn't do anything about it. So, like I said, we all felt like guinea pigs this year, and I heard that from multiple people who've done the show many times, that this was definitely a test for if they could make changes for the show. But we did our prejudging, and we were supposed to start our prejudging at, I want to say 1:15 and be done at 3:30, and then change back into our looks from like 3:30 to 4:30-ish. Or maybe it was like 4:30 to 5, because the show started at 6. So they wanted us all ready well beforehand to be lined up and ready to go at 6. We didn't start prejudging until about 2:45 because we started the dress rehearsal so late. And then it didn't affect me because I was in the first half of the show, but we did go straight from prejudging to change to dinner, the meal that they provided us with, and the food was a delight. But the designers who were at the end of the show didn't really get a chance to stop down and eat. Luckily, some other designers noticed that the hotel was packing up the meals and was like, wait, I don't think everyone's gotten food yet. Can we make some plates? And so they were able to get some plates for the designers who were at the end of show because they didn't get the time to. I think they should have split us in half and sent the second half to go eat and then get redressed and then go to prejudging. That obviously didn't happen. They weren't expecting it to go that long, to take that long, etc. There's a lot of variables in stuff like this, but I think it was just a little too tightly scheduled together for what it was, in my own opinion, and experiencing it and kind of experiencing somewhat similar sets and structures and work. But everyone did get to change out of their looks and eat, even if it was just for a few minutes, before we all got dressed, did makeup and hair touch-ups, went to the bathroom, and then the show started. And we did it. We all walked the runway, and no one tripped and no one fell, and everyone looked absolutely gorgeous, and everyone's looks were incredible, and it was such a talented group, and everyone was so kind. And one thing that did happen before the show, I forgot, was we had all been told by past designers that all of the designers will make little gifts for everyone and pass them out backstage, and it was so cute. Wait, let me grab mine real fast. So this was my little name tag at my station that had my little tiny mirror, and then this was like the thank you card. that was in the gift bag. I did go through all of this in my con vlog. I do not have all of it still in here, so you can go watch my Her Universe or San Diego Comic Con vlog to see what was in the bag originally. I do have some other things that we got. One of the last year's winners and the judges did make everyone letters. They were so cute, and they gave us all really nice tape measures that I have been using so much. Here's just a few examples. This is from Catwoman. Got some keychains. This is actually part of Ashley's outfit. Love that. All my rings are still in here. This is the materials from the Fortress of Solitude dress. So freaking cute. We got these keychains. Cute. Her Universe. This one says the Huffs Her Universe Fashion Show 26 with the materials for their look. Just really cute stuff. So cute, and everyone was so cute. They all just started passing them out at the same time right before the show, and it was just a delight, and everyone was so friendly, and there's so much camaraderie backstage where you're just like, okay, we're all gonna be trapped in this tiny little area with not enough chairs for the next like 12 hours. Here we go, okay. Yeah, it was great. It was so nice. But then we went straight into the run of show, and we did the show, and everyone walked, and it was great, and it was perfect. And I will talk about my opinions about the run of show at the end. That is where all of my opinions are gonna go. This is just me hitting all of the little notes and everything that happened in the day. I will say, if you are planning to do this, comfy shoes that are not just comfy for walking, but also comfy for standing. We did a lot of just standing lined up in our lines, waiting for the go-ahead, waiting for our turn, like waiting for our rehearsal slot. It was a lot of standing in our heels and waiting. So either easy to slip on and off heels, or no heels, or real comfy heels. My shoes were very comfortable, but after 2 days of a lot of standing and walking in them, your feet do get tired. The runway, I wanna say, the designer in front of me wore her Apple Watch for our rehearsals, and I want to say she said it was like 500 steps, like one way across it. And so we did back and forth all morning, and then you go down it, and then you go down it, and then you go down it, and then you go down and you go back. Yeah, it's a lot of, yeah. And then in between all of that, you're just kind of standing around. And when you're lined up, there's nowhere to sit. But over in like the get ready and backstage area, there was chairs. But you're still gonna be standing a lot. That is one thing that is in my note. So after I went, we all got to watch the monitor. You can see it in my Her Universe vlog once again. I do have a whole vlog that is just the rehearsal and the day of Her Universe. And you can see kind of more of what happens backstage rather than just hearing me talk about it right now. We did the whole run of show, and we went out, and we were standing in the audience when they announced who won, and so we all had very live reactions. It's not interesting to me. I suppose that is very normal. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling now. So the winners were announced, and we walked backstage. I didn't win. I didn't really want to. If you win, you don't get to do it again, and I would love to do it again. So I would love to get, you know, a few rounds of going before I win. You gotta have some confidence in yourself, okay? Otherwise you'll get nowhere. So we went backstage, and we were told that we needed to clean up all of our stuff beforehand and move it to a different room where we could store it, and it would be locked and safe before we went to the after party, because there is an after party, and you definitely want to go to the after party, I was told, because the swag is really good, is what everyone said. Everyone kept talking about the party swag. That is also another thing. But we went and we cleaned up. I didn't change. Lexi changed into like a party outfit, and then we went to the after party, and we were given 2 tokens for the claw machine, where you could like attempt to get like a ball that had like a prize, and it was mostly like t-shirts. Who doesn't love a t-shirt? We didn't get anything, but you got 2 tokens for that, and then 2 drink tickets if you're over 21, which was great. I love a drink ticket, and they had themed drinks that were really fun. They also just had like wine and beers and like full bar, and you also were able to talk to Ashley and get a picture with her, which was so sweet. One of the highlights of this for me was talking to Ashley at that after party, because she did immediately know me. She knew my name. She talked about my other designs that I'd submitted, which was super cool. I think I would have had a very different opinion of the show if Ashley had not been so kind and so down to earth and so like involved in the show. Like, you can truly tell that she loves doing it and that she wants to keep doing it and do her best for the designers and for the audience and for everyone involved. Like, you can tell that she's really putting in the effort for the designers and for the show, and it shows. It was, in my opinion, it was a good show. The bits of it that I saw on the monitor were excellent. Everyone was just walking around in their outfits, and I think we did miss out on a little bit of like the press taking photos of other designers, because I saw those afterwards and I was like, oh, that must have happened when we were like doing this and doing this and doing this, because it was our first year doing it. We had no idea what to expect. That's how it always goes with these types of things. But we did stay at the after party for, I want to say, like almost 2 hours if I had to guess. Hour and a half, 2 hours. We were kind of like some of the last people there, but we picked up our swag, we used our drink tickets, we talked to all the other designers, we yapped, and like, when you're backstage, you kind of talk to people around you, but there's so many people back there with all the helpers and the models and the designers and the stage crew. There's just a lot going on, and you talk to the people who are right next to you or the people that you already know. But at the after party was where we really mingled and were like, oh my gosh, yeah, I saw your look from last year, it was so good. Like, I told the girl who inspired me to join it, and who, Paige, you're great. I did tell her, I was like, you are the reason that I know this exists, and also please tell me more about your color changing fabric because I'm desperate here. So it was so great getting to meet all of them, and the after party was just a blast. Yeah, that was basically the event, and after that we attempted to go get our stuff out of the locked room, and it was locked again. And we were just standing there like, And so Lexi went to go get someone, and when she goes down, more designers come up and I'm like, yeah, it's locked. They locked our stuff in there. They said they were going to, but now we can't get access to it. And then Lexi came back up and was like, yeah, I asked someone about it, and they were like, no, there's nothing in there. You don't need to get in there. And we're like, no, our stuff is in there, our clothes. All of our stuff is in there. Please, we have to get in there. And so eventually, like, half the designers were up there trying to get their stuff, but then they did come unlock the door, and we were able to change and then walk to our hotel and go to sleep so that we could get up the next morning. That is basically everything about the show that happened, at least for me. And I hope that has answered some questions. I am now going to move on to our next portion, basically. So now we're getting into the hard-hitting journalism of it all. These are my thoughts. They're only my thoughts. These are my thoughts and opinions. I kind of ran some of them by Lexi. She was there with me for a lot of it. But I do have some opinions. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're negative. I just think that there was a lot of stuff that they tried to do differently this year that did not work for them. And one of those things was that the runway was on the ground. It was not up on a stage, it was on a ground, and you can really see that from all of the pictures and videos from the audience. Basically, if you were not right on the aisle, you didn't get to see the lower half of pretty much everyone's designs. You did have to go up 2 steps, and they did ask multiple times in all of the meetings and in emails and everywhere, let us know if you cannot go upstairs. Like, please let us know if you can't go upstairs. To be honest, I thought that that was just gonna be like, oh, we're going up a few stairs to get onto the stage and then having to go back down. I was not expecting to be walking down a runway and then going up 2 stairs, walking around in a circle on that platform and then going back down and continuing on. That is never what I would have guessed in a million years, and multiple different meetings, designers who've done it in the past did ask like, hey, what's the runway look like? How long is it? What's it made out of? And they just kept telling us, we don't know, or we don't want to say yet because it's not locked in. We can't say, we don't want to spoil it. There was a lot of times where the meetings were basically like, does anyone have any questions? No? Okay, well, I sent you that email, so make sure you respond to it. Send me names for this person or yada, yada, yada. That kind of stuff. But they did confirm that we could do stairs multiple times. So I should not have been surprised about the stairs, but it was a little surprising. And I think everyone did feel that way, that they were like, what? Okay. And they tried to do a 360 audience for the runway. So there was chairs facing every direction, basically. The weird part about that was you walk out onto the runway and you're just seeing the backs of people's heads because they're still looking at the person that went right in front of you. The thought was that as soon as that person is done in the center and they start to step off, it was when they changed the song, or that was basically when you were supposed to step off, is like the end of your song. And so everyone is still looking at that person as they're walking off because they're still only halfway down the runway. when you start coming out. And so then everyone turns and it's like you're looking at everyone's backs, and it was really jarring, I will say that. It was a little weird, and I don't know how I felt about that portion of it. I did like that the runway was on the ground. I was okay with that, and I did like going up onto the platform because I did a little cutesy, I did a little Harley. It was fun. They said they wanted it to be gritty and like New York Fashion Week, and that is exactly what it was. I think my only gripe with the actual runway show itself, and this is fully just me, and I think I either just got a short stick or they didn't think about it that much, even though that it should be their job to think about it and make sure that no one is in the position that I was put in. Basically, was as soon as we did the dress rehearsal, I walked out and knew immediately that I was just filler for the show. I knew that I had a good design, I knew I had a solid look, I knew that it was well made and well put together, but I was put in the worst position in the show. If I'm going to be completely honest, I was in the worst possible spot that I could have walked. And I don't say that lightly. I have been in many competitions, I've walked on many stages, and I've walked between incredible designs before, but there was only 2 designs in the entire show that had transitions and that had outfit changes, basically. Maybe 3. And I was put right in between 2. So I was 7th in the show order, and the first group was it was 5 people, I wanna say. No, it was 4 people. The first group was only 4 people, where they play the videos, and then the 4 people went, and then they played our videos, and then we went, and I was smack dab right in between 2 incredible transitions. And everyone's looks were so good, but you can't top a transition. And the fact that they put 2 of them in one group and put them right after one another, it was kind of wild, and it didn't make me feel great, I'm gonna be honest. At that point, I was like, it's whatever, like there's nothing I can do about it, truly, and I didn't get to pick my position, but I think that should not have happened, in my opinion. I think that they should have been more spread out, and I can understand why those 2 were in the same group, because they had a little bit of theming for the groups. I understand that both of those transitions were Teen Titans characters, but I honestly think they should have still split them up, in my own opinion. There was 2 Harley Quinns in the show. There was me and there was someone else who, she was fantastic and she was a delight, and I loved meeting her and talking to her. And she did win, which was great, but we were also in the same group. And it wasn't that we were in a group with like, oh, villains or oh, this. That's just not what it was. But she was also in my group, and so it was a little weird that we were 2 Harley Quinns in the same group, to me at least. Like I said, these are my personal gripes with the show. These are the only things that I did not like about the show. I just felt like I got a very short stick with where I was positioned. That's basically the only thing that I did not like about the show. I think I've said that a few times now, but I do just want to make that very clear. I had a delightful time there. I just immediately knew that I was filler, and so I didn't really need to try that hard. So I didn't try exceptionally hard to really make myself stand out in the prejudging room. I wanted to stand out on the stage because that's just who I am, and I love being Harley and I love being big and bubbly like that, so I knew my walk was gonna be great, but the rest of the time I was like, okay, this is just for fun. Like, I'm not winning, I know that I'm filler. And it's not the best feeling in the entire world, and I think you want to put all of your designers on the same starting point, and I suppose we were, but I did just feel like I had a very short stick knowing what was happening right around my walking time. What is also crazy about that is that the 2 designs that went right after me ended up being Audience Choice winner, was right after me, one of the transformations, and it was incredible, and her look was so well done, and the things that you wouldn't even be able to see from the audience, like, absolutely deserved. I will not say that these wins were not deserved, but both of the winners from that night were right after me. It was one after the other, and they were all in my same group. But they also did introduce a 3rd winner this year, which was the fan vote, where you went to their booth at San Diego Comic-Con and you were able to tap on a screen and pick one of our photos and vote for who you wanted to win, the fan vote. And the person who went right in front of me ended up winning the fan vote, and that was also well deserved because it was an incredible design and they were so sweet, and the transformation was impeccable and it was so good every time. But like I said, I was sandwiched in between all of the winners, and that's really the thing that I keep thinking about when I think about the show, is just that that was a little weird. What can you do? Nothing. So I am just happy to have experienced it. I am so glad that I was able to meet all of those wonderful designers and models, and I hope to be able to do it again in the future. I guess that is the real question. Would I enter again in the future? If it was the right themed property, yes. I will not enter if I am not absolutely over the moon about whatever I'm designing for. If I don't have the passion for the property there, I don't want to take up another designer's spot for someone else who is very excited about it, basically, is where I'm at. I was very passionate about this year and the theme and the properties, so I guess that is my own opinion. Let me see if there's anything else that I want to say. I do just want to give an extra shout out to Ashley Eckstein and the whole Her Universe team, the whole stage crew, the director, the judges. It was all so well done, and I did feel like I was cared for, you know, as much as one can be cared for in that type of situation. I don't want to say situation, in that environment. Environment is better. Everyone worked so hard, and you can see that they'd all been putting in their best effort leading up to the show, and that everyone was being considerate of the designers, of the crew, of everyone, and it was such a great experience, and I would do it again. Absolutely. So until then, thank you for being here. I hope this wasn't too long. I kind of have been rambling for a while. My camera literally died in the middle of this. So thank you for being here. Thank you. I hope that you enjoy, and you will get to see me make my entire Her Universe look. You've already seen it, and now you've heard about the show, and you've heard about the run. So let's talk more about my designs and my actual looks. Yeah? Okay, but we'll do that in 3 other videos. How about? So until then, once again, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.